Okay, so in this video, we're going to go over theorems about special angles. So we have three different categories of angles that we are going to go through. Our first are vertical angles. So what we're going to do here is, instead of coming down with the definition, we're going to draw a diagram that represents each term, and then we will discuss and fill in the definition. So for our vertical angles, you want to draw two lines that will intersect each other. Now, after doing this, we will want to label each one of these angles. Okay? So we have angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. So, how does this diagram represent vertical angles? So, definition for vertical angles. Vertical angles are when two lines intersect. Okay. The opposite angles formed at the intersection. So what I mean by the angles opposite formed at the intersection is where these two lines cross. Here is your point of intersection. Okay. This is your point of intersection. And the opposite angles would be the angles that are across from each other. So angle 1 and angle 3 are opposite from each other, and angles 2 and 4 are opposite from each other. Okay. Those angles are vertical angles. Okay. Now, what's so special about these angles? Well, what ends up occurring is that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. The angles that are across from each other, the angles that are on opposite sides of the intersection point, okay, are going to be congruent. They're going to have the same measurement. So what also happens is angle 2 is going to be congruent to angle 4. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So whenever you have two lines that are crossing, you will automatically have two sets of vertical angles that are directly across from each other at the intersection point. And those angles will be and will always be congruent to each other. our next set of special angles is when we're talking about exterior angles of a triangle. So let's draw a diagram so that we can clearly see what's being discussed. So we have our triangle, okay? But the bottom side of the triangle is extended out, and you can clearly see that on the outside we have an angle, which I'm going to mark as angle 4. And on the inside we have angles 1 and 2, but then we also have angle 3. Okay? So so what is so special about these angles? Well, what ends up happening is the exterior angle of the triangle. Now remember, when we were talking about the exterior angle, we are talking about the angle that is on the outside of the triangle. Okay? So the exterior angle of the triangle will be equal to the sum of, now here's going to be a new term, and it is in your definition packet if you want to look it up, is the sum of the remote interior angles. So what are the remote interior angles? So the easiest way that I've learned how to explain this is, for your TV, you have a remote control. Well, the remote control allows you to control the TV from a distance away from the TV. So that's why it's called remote, because it is a distance away from whatever you are relating it to. Okay? Now the interior are the angles on the inside of our triangle. So which angles of our 3, 1, 2, and 3, are the remote interior? Well, we are relating it to the exterior angle. So the angles that are away from, not close to, angle 4 is going to be angles 1 and 2. Okay? So angles 1 and 2 are going to be our remote interior angles. And so what ends up happening with these angles is that our angles, so angle 4, will be equal to the sum of angles 1 and 2. And this will occur every time. So anytime there is an exterior angle, the two angles that are furthest away from the exterior angle, if we add those two angles together, they will equal the measurement of the exterior angle. So now comes our last set, our parallel lines cut by a transversal. So we have parallel lines. So the easiest way to do this is if you have your ruler, you can just draw a line on one side of your ruler and then draw a line on your second side of your ruler, and you have your parallel lines. Now, cut by a transversal just means that we have a line that goes through both sets of parallel lines. So this line that went through both parallel lines is the transversal. Okay. So what ended up happening here is we have a set of angles. We've created 8 angles. 1, 2, 3, 4. And angles 5, 6, 7, and 8. So what ends up happening is we have a lot of different congruent angles. Okay. So let's start off with a set of congruent angles. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Okay. Sorry, I should have used a different color for angle 5. Okay. And angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. And angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. And angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. Alright. Now, what these angles are called, these are special termed angles called corresponding angles. So what that means is if you compare the location of angle 1 to the location of angle 5, it is in the same location compared to all of the other angles. And the same with angle 2 and angle 6, angle 3 and angle 7, angle 4 and angle 8. They are in the same location. Okay. Another set of angles that we have that are congruent are angles angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. and angle 4 is congruent to angle 5. So the term for these are alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles means that the angles inside of your parallel lines, so angles 3, 4, 5, and 6 are on the inside of your parallel lines. That's the interior piece. Now the alternate means that they are diagonally across the transversal from each other. So 4 is diagonally across from angle 5, and 3 is diagonally across from angle 6. Those angles are congruent to each other. Another set of angles is angle 3, and if we add that to angle 5, this will equal 180 degrees. Same as if we take angle 4 and add that with angle 6. This will also equal 180 degrees. These angles, if we look, they are inside 3, 4, 5, and 6. They are inside of our parallel lines, but 3 and 5 are on the same side of the transversal, as well as 4 and 6. So these are called same side interior angles. Okay. There will be a short quiz coming up, as well as some worksheet and book assignments at the end of this video and after you take the short quiz. Have a good day.